Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you guys doing? All right, upcoming in this show, we're going to learn what is new on the show, how is it different, all that stuff. We're going to have John Endres on later on in the evening, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, John Endres is the newly appointed CEO of IRR. He's going to be joining me at 7 p.m. But up until then, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. There's been a protest on the N1. We're going to be discussing that. Salaries have been paid to the ANC staff, or have they? And something interesting about a woman's lady parts. We'll be discussing all this and a lot more tonight. So let's strap in, let's have some fun, and I'll see you guys in just a moment. And there you have it. All right, so quick intro, quick little it's coming up, what's coming up kind of vibe. You know, that's how it's working now. So this is kind of the new format of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, I'm making this into a show. I'm going to make this into a proper show. If you hear a bit of background wind, that's because I'm currently on Bloberg Strand. No, I'm kidding. I'm on location at Bloberg Strand. I'm not. There's a fan right next to me because, it's actually Tammy who's busy fanning me. No, I'm kidding. It's a fan. It's a fan that's next to me, blowing, because it's hot in Cape Town at the moment, so it's like boiling hot in this room. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm totally excited about the new format of the show. I've been giving this a lot of thought. I'm gonna be adding a lot more stuff. I'm gonna be adding like so much, and this is gonna be like a show. You know how you watch like Gareth Cliff, for example. Now again, I'm not saying that I'm a Gareth Cliff personality or I'm as famous as Gareth Cliff would like to be, but I'm not. But I want to start building an actual show, where every night when I do a stream, the first hour is with us chatting, right? And we look at like anything and everything, like whether it be entertainment, politics, what have you, whatever, anything you guys want to talk about, anything we want to talk about, we'll talk about it. All right, that's what we're gonna do, and we'll be like a show. And I'm bringing so much. I'm thinking of so much stuff, guys. Like I want to bring segments into it. You know what I mean? I want to bring like so much to it. Like for example, Monday nights, okay? Monday nights, like I said, always going to be an hour with me, the first half of the show. Second half of the show, on a Monday, I'm going to have a guest, one guest. Like tonight, it's John Endres from IRR. The newly appointed CEO is going to be joining us a little bit later at 7 p.m. Tomorrow evening, though, I'm very excited about that. Tuesdays, again, first half with me. Chat about anything and everything. Second half is might go over an hour because, well, it's a panelist discussion. So I'm going to have up to 4 other people with me discussing any topic. And some of the topics might be controversial. I say that with quotation marks because anything now is controversial. But yeah, we're going to be talking like tomorrow, guys, Tomorrow is one hell of a doozy because we're going to be talking about black excellence. And I know already some people are probably triggered. But here's the thing. I didn't know about this term until literally 2 nights ago. I got panelists together. I said, hey, what are we going to talk about? One of them suggested, let's talk about black excellence. I was like, okay, well, what's that? They gave me a bit of reading homework to do. I got to read up on some stuff. And then we're going to be talking about it tomorrow. And apparently it's a touchy subject in South Africa and around the world. I don't know why yet. So don't shoot the messenger just yet. Don't cancel me just yet. All right, let's not do that. I just thought, what would be cool is like having like a canceling noise situation. Like wow, wow, wow. Oh, I don't know. Well, again, I got so much things I want to add. It's going to be very interactive and all that stuff. This is the first show. I'm unfortunately not 100% prepared. I don't know how things are going to go on a bit later because it's a 2-hour stream, guys. I'm not stopping. So there's things that are going to happen halfway that, I hope you guys will enjoy. And I hope that I can figure it out. And you know what? It's a learning curve for me. If I figure it out, I figure it out tonight. If I don't, well, hopefully I'll get it tomorrow. But anyway, tomorrow, panelist discussion. That's every Tuesday. There's going to be a panelist discussion. We're going to be talking about some real stuff, ladies and gentlemen, real topics. And then Thursday, I'm only doing it three times a week. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Thursday, I start at 7. And I'm experimenting with that. There's a lot of experimentation going to happen in the next month or two. So I'm going to see if 7 p.m. is a better slot for people. I think for some people it might be. And 7 p.m., hour with me. Second half is either Say What or Late Night Chat. And some of you know already what that is. If you don't know, it's where me and comedians hang out. Say What, we roast the headlines. We look for headlines that make us go say what, like crazy headlines. I got one today, and I'll probably include it in this week's episode. But it's so out there, I had to include it. We have to talk about it today. And and Late Night Chat is just us reviewing, or not reviewing, really commentating, making fun of some really weird TikTok videos. So that's always a lot of fun. And as comedians, we're always talking a lot of cock. So like, it's fun. It's fun. Just tune in. And just so you if anybody's worried, right? Because I know 2 hours, some people might watch it, be like, oh my word, 2 hours, really? Look, you can leave. You can leave, you can come back, you know? If I'm boring you, you can see what else is playing, watch something else, come back, you know? Maybe you can leave now, come back for John Endres. It's fine. Just leave a like and subscribe. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. The other thing is, I will be editing these episodes. So for those of you who might be worried about like, oh, now I've got to watch like 2 hours just to like watch an interview. No, I'm going to be releasing, I'm going to edit these stuff. So for example, tonight, right, I have John Endres. So this episode is going to remain on my YouTube channel, but then tomorrow or after I will upload just the part where John joins, and that will be under my podcast/VIP playlist on my channel. And that's what I'll do for all the shows. So, well, for Say What and Late Night Chat, that will be on its own YouTube channel. So after the evening, we'll put it on that channel. And then for the panelist discussion, I'll upload that on its own a bit later. So you can watch the full show, or you can watch just what you want to watch. Yeah. So I'm making changes, guys. I'm making changes. I ask you to please be patient with me. It's a lot of things coming, a lot of ideas. Like I was thinking about so much stuff. But anyway, let me not neglect the people that are watching. I mean, I'm so honored that we got a few viewers. We got Tony Nagy in the house, saying that Canadians are amazing. That's all I have to say about that. A very Canadian accent. He says, hey Joe. Hello Tony. Cameron Engelbert is here. And the Pro Wrestling Podcast is also here. What time is it there by you, man? Because I still need to give you a time for I know we have a date, Kinky. I'm going to have this guy, the Pro Wrestling Podcast, on my show. His name's David. We're going to be talking about wrestling. Yes, I like wrestling, guys. I'm going to add it to the shelf. By the way, new setup. We'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, I'm going to have David on the show, I think in March. And I need to know, what time is it by you right now, David? If we did it at this time for you, because he's in the States, would it work for you? Or is it like too late or too early, or what's the vibe? Let me know, David. A podcast saying, Penelope in the house. Hello. Nice of you to join. And Cameron Engelbach saying, say what? Yep. And G Sawyer also here. Hello, guys. There's a lot of people I haven't seen in a while. It's good for you guys to join. Very nice of you. Very nice of you. It's very nice of you to join. Yes, Cape Town is... Yeah. We're going to talk about something like that. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. So, yeah. It's just past 9 a.m. here. I mean, you're in Canada. I don't know where David is. I think he's in Chicago. I think 9 a.m. might be a bit of an inconvenience for him. Then I'm still trying. I need to remember this. Like, I think, because that's the one interview is gonna have to be a special case. But we'll figure it out. He will be on the show. We've got the date. We just need to finalize the time. Anyway, yeah, guys, I moved. I'm in a new place. I know it kind of looks different, sort of. What? It is. As you can see, there's a longer shelf. And it's a bit lower so you guys can see a little bit better what is on there. I love the new studio. I think it's great, and of course, the piste de resistance. If you don't know what this says, because it's a bit too far and the camera's being blurry, rebelstoresat8.com. Just saying. So yeah, that's gonna remain there, and I'm very excited about it. I love this studio now. It feels a bit more spacious. Yes, the frames are gone. There's a guitar in the corner there. I love the new setup. I love the new setup. I'm a bit sad that I couldn't include the books. Maybe in the future I'll figure out a way to include them in this setup. But I mean, yeah, I like what I got here so far. We'll see. It's gonna change. I'll obviously change what's on here every now and again. But yeah, Jesse in the house. Hello, Jesse. Away. Where's your guest? See, this is what happens when people come in late. I should actually put up a banner somehow as well. That's actually probably a good idea. But okay, read the description, because the information is in the description. The show's different now. It's 2 hours. I know, right? But I want to have fun with you guys. So Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday for the first hour of the show is just with me. We're going to talk about anything and everything. And then the second half will either be a guest, which is usually on a Monday. I'll have a guest, just a guest, one guest. Tuesday, I'll have a panel discussion. And Thursday will either be Say What or Late Night Chat, depending on the Thursday. So yeah. Styling Studio, thank you so much, Penelope. Ooh, said it's a bit dark. Need a little more light. Okay, well, this is the only light I have right now. But then the blue kind of disappears, you know what I mean? I don't know why this camera's struggling to I mean, I could do this, but then no. Like I said, I'll figure it out, guys. I'll figure it out. I don't know why this camera's struggling so much to get the focus correct, but yeah. Cool. So John Endres will be on at 7 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna chat. We're gonna chat about a few things. I got a lot to talk about. And like I said, the first half of the show is going to be with me. I'm going to make it entertaining. I promise. In time, it will be entertaining. Maybe not this week, but next week. I'll figure it out. I promise. I'm going to add segments. I'm going to add stuff. We're going to have fun. I'm even thinking about doing co-hosts. I mean, how cool would it be the first half I have a co-host like Dumo or Ramon. I don't think Ramon would do it. But I'm just saying. A co-host, talk about shit, talk about everything. It's fine. So, and like I said, if you're watching this now and you're like, oh, I don't have time, I'll watch later, but now you gotta like fast forward through my first hour of BS, don't worry. I will upload the second half of the shows on their own, with exception to Say What, which will be on its own YouTube channel, which is linked in my YouTube page. So seriously, guys, I'm very excited for what's to come. Like I said, I wanted this to be a show. I want it to be a show. I want it to be entertaining, and I want it to be fun, and I want to always just chat to you guys, you know? You know what I mean? Like, how cool is it to chat for an hour before a guest, before whatever happens? We chat about what's happening, like we're going to do right now, all right? So I got some headlines here that I thought were quite interesting. I mean, I think Penelope or someone mentioned earlier trucks, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys saw this. 15 arrested after trucks block the N1 in Cape Town. I thought this was fake news, and then it turns out it's true. And it's just 15. The thing is, like, there's not much that's said in this article. Like, so I don't even know why or how or why these people were in the like basically, you know, protesting or blocking off. Like there's no mention of it here. Like if I try and zoom in here, like I think that is an alcohol truck right there. I could be wrong, but that is alcohol. That's beer, dude. So I mean, was it a protest or was it a party? Like maybe the drivers are just like, you know what, I'm tired. I've got some, like, talking to his fellow driver on the phone. I don't know, walkie-talkie. You know, like, hey, let's just have some fun. It's Sunday. Screw driving. Let's just pull over right now and have a party, dude. Like, I don't know, maybe, because there's nothing else in this article that says otherwise. I mean, and it is Kryfontaine, let's be honest. Let's see. Wesley Trick police from the scene monitoring situation. That's it, man. Just say people found it. Okay, so apparently a truck driver foundation spokesperson said that the blockade had nothing to do with them. Truck Drivers Foundation. So it had nothing to do with the Truck Drivers Foundation. Apparently, our enemies are blaming us. Okay, some kind of weird conspiracy happening now. But yeah, that's. I think like they did it on both sides too. I'm telling you, it was a party, man. I'm telling you. Like it was Sunday. They're just like, let's have some fun, guys. Let's just. Everybody's invited to this block party, road party. That's what they called it, road party, not a block party. Who knows? But yeah, like there's nothing. I don't know why there was an article written, because this is it. That's it. That's all they say. They don't tell you why, how it happened. Look, even they say City of Cape Town reported similar blockade took place in Klipval. I think that's how you pronounce it. But it was cleared quickly. Yeah. Apparently those arrested face charges of public violence. They were drinking. I don't know if they were drinking. I don't know. But, I mean, there's an alcohol truck. You never know. Here's something that happened last week, actually. This made weekend news a bit. ANC pays its employees after being slapped with a court case. That's right. So, as you know, ANC has been paying some of their staff at ground level, while the ministers of the ANC get suspended and get pay of over 100,000 rand a month. But anyway, staff have been. So here's the thing, right? This guy is I forgot his name. Hold on. The treasurer, right? Paul. He comes out, all right, and he says, you know, we've paid, up to date, everything's fine. Let's just move on. You know, we're all good. All right. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. This payment happened not too long after this happened. Okay? It's rumors. I'm not saying. I mean, hear me out, right? South Africa gets 750 million dollars. Okay? Dollars, not an R, dollars. Okay? Do you want to know how much that is approximately in rand? Right there. You'll see it now. 11.4 billion. 11.4 billion rand. This was what? This was 21 Jan. All right? So this was this year, towards the end of Jan. Last week, ANC pays its staff. I mean, and they struggled. They struggled for a while to pay their staff, and now that money, $750 come in. Now all of a sudden they're paying staff. Here's the most messed up part, though. All right, how's this for a plot twist? Okay, you can't make this stuff up. ANC staffers deny party's claim that salaries have been paid. Boom! It's hard to keep up with South African news, guys. It really is, because every time... I mean, So apparently, not everyone has been paid. Because okay, so the treasurer guy, said that everyone's been paid. Everything's up to date, even bonuses. Okay, he's like said this on live television. Even bonuses. Okay, but now some staffers are coming out and saying, nope, it's not true. We haven't been paid. Not all of us. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Like, these headlines just come to me, if you know what I mean. Like, every morning I look at the headlines, every morning, and sometimes in the afternoon if I have like a quick 5-minute break. And this is the stuff I find, guys. This is the stuff I find. You know, just like I thought this might interest you guys. Some of you might have to do a double take with this one. I did. Chilling truth: cold weather can cause winter vajayjay, and it's bad news for your sex life. Winter. There it is, guys. I'm not gonna. I mean, you guys can read, right? I'm not making this stuff up. This is a headline. I mean, it's an old headline, but it was passed on to me on Twitter. I mean, what the hell is winter vajayjay? Like, okay, so when reading the article, okay, there's an expert that believes that when winter comes along, you know, some people, when winter comes along, you get dry lips, you know. Yeah, put the heater on, stuff like that. Like, your skin gets dry, get dry lips and stuff like that. So this expert believes that the same principle can happen down there, and it's not good. And apparently it does happen to some women. It does, apparently. But other doctors have debunked this by saying that if it does happen to other women, it's not because of winter. It's just because maybe they have low hormone levels, periods can also play a part. Like, there's so many things. Every woman is different. There's so many reasons why they might have winter vajayjay. And I shared this article on Twitter, and someone said, "That's cool. Men get winter penises." No, yeah. I mean, I didn't know the JJs were seasonal. I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, guys. I had to share this. I was just like, what is going on? Who, why, when, where? It's apparently it's a thing. It's not a thing. I don't know. I can't help you. I don't know what's going on here. But but that's what I'm saying, Tony. How that's just a normal vajayjay. Apparently. I don't know. Like, ladies watching, like, do you get this? Like, look, again, a doctor said that it's usually because of other reasons that a JJ would dry up, and it's not because of winter. Like, maybe some women, yes, might experience it, but it's not a thing. It's not like every woman goes through it. It's not a thing. Vaginas are not seasonal. Like, your vajayjay hibernates now. Like, that's sorry, I can't. I just had to share it. I couldn't be the only one that lived with this. All right. So, okay. So, moving on. This is actually some exciting news, and I hope that a lot will come from it. And I'll keep a close eye on it. Hopefully, we'll get someone from this organization on the show. Because it would be nice to get them on the show. So basically what's happening here, ladies and gentlemen, is Sacheliche obtains confirmation of constitutional failure at National Disaster Management Center. This is a story that Ramon Kabanek also covered. I think it was in today's episode of The Morning Shot. Or it could have been Friday's episode. I can't remember. I watch so much content now. But I got this from him. I thought if there's anybody that doesn't know about it, should know about it. And basically, look, there's a lot of people right now fighting to end the lockdown in South Africa. Okay, we've got IRR, we've got AfriForum, Sakeliga, and I think Solidariteit, if I'm not mistaken, or Solidarity. I can't remember what they're called. They're fighting to end the lockdown. I mean, AfriForum and DRSA. I almost forgot DRSA. Also fighting to end the lockdown. They submitted their papers last week to contest the Disaster Management Act or disaster management situation. And Sakeliga have an interesting way of going about this because they actually spoke to the, like it says here, National Disaster Management Center. All right. And the National Disaster Management Center basically said that they follow the instructions of the government. Meanwhile, it is supposed to be the opposite way around. The Center National Disaster Management is supposed to tell the government, look, we're in a disaster right now because of these stats. You need to keep the disaster thing going, right? But that's not what's been happening. It is the government's been telling them. So that's what makes it kind of unconstitutional because that's not how it is. That's not how the law works. So yeah, this is very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Go to Sakeliga. You can see there's the letter from this doctor who basically told Sakeliga, like, we're being told by the government what to do, not the opposite way around. We're supposed to tell the government, but they're telling us what to do. They're telling us that it's still state of disaster. I'll click on the thing. Here we go. I mean, the most important part is here. It's where is it? I think it's here. I need to find it quickly. There we go. All right, yeah, I'll move myself just now. So, yeah, apparently, there we go. That is the most important paragraph. A potential or local disaster is neither reasonable or rational. See, this is from the National Disaster Management Center, okay? This, like, this sentence even. This freaking sentence. Okay? I contend that the reclassification of the event to that of provincial or local disaster is neither reasonable or rational. This is from the people that say whether or not it's a, disaster time or not, So I think Sakeliga has something here. I think Sakeliga, have a good case here. I hope they do. I don't know. I'm not part of their legal team. I have no idea. But I definitely want to get someone from Sakeliga on the show, have a quick chat about this, explain a little bit more about this. But I thought you guys should know, like, there's hope and there's something here. There's something here. While other organizations are fighting, in different ways, I think IRR is taking it from the position of, well, we're no longer in a disaster because, the stats show otherwise. And I think AfriForum and DRSA are also going similarly down that route as well. Of, look, it's an endemic now. Like, we need to lift this economy, get people working, all that stuff. What we've been saying since the beginning of this lockdown, pretty much. And yeah, now the government needs to listen. We've got SONA coming up. That's the State of the Nation address in South Africa. That's where Cyril tells us more lies. Yes, I said it. I'm not scared. Okay, that's the truth. It should be called Cyril's lie. Cyril's fairy tale story. That's that's what it should be. Cyril's fairy tale story to South Africa, to tell everyone how the country is just messed up. Look who is in the chats, ladies and gentlemen, just popping in. I believe he has a stream at 7 o'clock when I'm going to have John Endres on. But if you want, you can check him out, ladies and gentlemen. Man Patreon, go give him a sub and like his content. I was actually talking about you earlier, Duma. I was saying like it would be kind of cool if I could get some co-hosts on the show every now and again. You know, maybe one evening you can co-host the show with me. So yeah, I'm doing something new. It's a 2-hour show, man. 2-hour show. First half is with me. Second half is with the guest. Well, Monday is a guest. Tuesday is panelist discussion. Thursday, say what, or late night chat, depending on the Thursday, really. Yes, Tony, I have to drink a lot of water. I'm on a diet, and I have to drink a lot of water. Like and subscribe, folks. Yes, to Man Patreon and to me, but to Man Patreon as well. So yeah. Oh, cool. All right, that'd be fun. Yeah. All right. So I'll let you know. I don't know. I'm still figuring out some kinks in this new, because basically I'm streaming like 2 hours straight, and then my guests come in while I'm on stream, and I need to figure that out as well. So that's gonna happen tonight. I'm very nervous about it because it might be glitchy. It might be glitchy. It's probably gonna be glitchy. It's gonna be, but it's fine. We'll make lemonade. We'll have some fun with it. Speaking of which, is 30 minutes in, and so there's an hour and a half left. Ladies and gentlemen, John Endres is going to join me at 7 p.m., so do not go anywhere if you want to have a nice conversation. We're going to have a conversation about the future of South Africa. Why? Well, where is it headed? His opinion on the next, like, what can we see from now up until 2024 and beyond? And how it's been for him to now be the CEO of the IRR, newly appointed CEO of the IRR. Franz Cornet has left. He has sailed on to I don't know where. Hopefully I can get Franz again on the show. It was a pleasure having him on before. And I would love to have him back on as much as I can. So, yeah. So, yeah. 2-hour format is proper. Yeah, because like I don't know. I'm just having fun. I want it to be a show. Like I said, in the future, I will probably have like segments, if that makes sense. So I'm looking forward to that. Like I don't know yet. I'm still thinking about it all. Like I'll have segments or something, because now, like, we went through the headlines, had some funny headlines, just some briefly news. You know, I try to make it funny or whatever. I try to entertain as much as possible. Maybe I'm not doing a good job right now, but I will fall in line, and I will get the hang of this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited about it. To be honest. Like, I think it's like a show. It's nice, you know. Oh yeah. A bit more of my personality can also come out. You know what I mean? I'm coming out. No. Anyway, and I'm not scared of cancel culture. Like, on this show, and Duma will agree with me, on this show, I want to be able to talk about anything and everything. And if people want to clip and take things out of context, that's fine by me, buddy. Like, I really do not care. Let the trolls troll. This is my show. And if you like it, awesome. Give me a like. If you want to watch more, subscribe. If you don't, that's fine too. Share it though. That'd be nice. That would be nice. Cool. All right. So Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, 2-hour show. Like I said, if you don't want to watch the full show, that's fine. I will upload the interview later on in the week, and it will just be the interview. Don't expect anything fancy. Don't expect anything fancy. It's literally just going to be me cutting that last hour and then uploading it. So yeah. Tony saying truth will always prevail, and Men Patriot saying damn right, Joe. Yeah, no, we gotta start having conversations. I think, that's why I'm very much looking forward to Tuesday evenings now. Like I look forward to Thursday evenings because that's like a laugh and a jolt all the time. But Tuesday evenings, and by the way, one of the Men Patriot dudes are going to be on Koketsu, if you happen to watch this at some point. Happy birthday, by the way. But tomorrow evening, Koketsu will be one of the panelists on the show tomorrow evening. And we're going to be talking about black excellence. Again, first time I heard that term was like 2 days ago. And we're going to explore black excellence. Why do some people get a bit of a fanny wobble when they hear it or get triggered? And what does it actually mean? Is it another term that the woke have taken and destroyed and created this weird narrative around? Is it bad or is it good? I don't know. These are questions I have. I really don't know. My panelists are going to educate me. We're going to talk about Sona, and we're going to talk about some other stuff, whatever headlines there are. We'll one or two headlines maybe. We'll see if there's anything newsworthy. Otherwise, it'll just be those two topics really. And we're going to have Dodgy Idealist on the show as well. He's another panelist, and we're gonna have Xavier Bapu's also gonna be on, and S or Sierra. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I know her as S on Twitter. Cool chick though. Cool chick. Very much looking for it. She shoots from the hip, man. She I cannot wait. Cannot wait to have a conversation with these people. And again, there's no malice here, all right? Like, we just want to have an open conversation, open, honest conversation about some topics that are, I don't know, how do I say this? Topics that are, I don't want to say meaningful, but like, not even passionate. Just topics that other people don't want to talk about for some reason. Like, when did mankind become scared to talk? And it's weird because there's a group of people that they'll talk your ear off, the left. They'll talk your ear off. Extreme left will talk your ear off, right? And force you to just pander to them. And then if you say anything that's against what they're telling you, you're canceled, basically. I think I want this to be a platform where people can feel safe to speak their mind, even if I disagree or fellow panelists disagree or you guys disagree. That's fine. But this idea that only one opinion can exist needs to end, needs to stop. We need to enrich our lives with different opinions and not be scared to offend people. People are going to get offended whether you like it or not, whether you try to or not. Like most of the time, I would like to think that most humans, try not to offend each other. I know I do. I try my best not to offend people. I really do. Okay? On this show, I'm a little bit jabby, but if you meet me in person, I'm polite. Okay? I try and be polite. I try and be respectful. If I'm in your house, I'll respect your rules. It's your house. That's the kind of guy I am, right? But I feel like some people just lost that. Just, I don't know, that trait, that moral, that I don't know how else to explain it. Daji Kuketsu Bapu will be an excellent one. Yeah, and S as well, gonna be on there. Look, it's that is a perfect panel. Thank you, Duma. Look, Man Patriot is also gonna be on my show. The team. So it's gonna be Nzuzu, it's gonna be Koketsu, and it's going to be Jumo. We're going to have the three of them, and it falls on a Tuesday as well, so it will be a panelist discussion as well. And I'm very much looking forward to that. The whole Men Patriot team will be on the show. And we're going to talk about also another topic that's quite, pushes the envelope, if I can put it that way. I'll talk about it closer to the time, but yeah, it's a topic I'm looking forward to talk about, because some people are going to be watching the show and they're gonna clip and they're going to try their best to make us look bad. But again, context, and we will handle the topic respectfully. I can't speak for Koketsu on that one, but I'm kidding. We will. Every topic is going to be handled respectfully as much as possible. I'm going to have Troubled Cat. You guys won't know who Troubled Cat is, but he's a he's a gay guy. Nothing wrong with that. But I asked him to come onto the show to chat about some LGBTQ stuff. I'm gonna leave it at that. So yeah, there's some hectic conversations coming up on the show. It's gonna be some good content. Like I said, this year I want to push the envelope. I wanna change the way people are thinking. Too many people now are trying to be too politically correct. You can be politically correct, but then there's like a line, I think. Because again, if you're being politically correct just because you don't want to offend anyone, dude, you're gonna have to disclaimer everything that you ever say. And come on, you have to think 300 times before you say anything. You can't live that way. I'm sorry, you can't. Just say it. Just say what's on your mind. You're allowed to think. You're allowed to have an opinion, even if it offends someone. I'm not saying go out and spread hate speech. There's a difference between free speech and hate speech, ladies and gentlemen. There is a difference, all right? There is a law, right? But, man, some people are just so scared to say anything. And I'm done. I'm done with that. I'm you know what? I'm going to have the show. It's a place where people can come onto the show. They can say what they want to say. Even if there's, and there probably is some wokey watching right now. Even if you want to come onto the show, let me actually make this very clear. The first show of 2022, the first proper, the Joe Emilio Show, episode 1, pilot, whatever you want to call it. I'm making it clear, and I'm making a statement now. If there's any wokey watching this show and you know who you are, okay, you are invited onto my show. I'm not hard to find. I'm not hard to get a hold of. If you want to say something to my face and not behind an anonymous account, let's have a discussion. I'll be respectful. I'll let you say whatever it is you want to say, my friend. You can have a ball of a time. There you go. Offers out there. Are you going to do it? No, because you're cowards. You're all cowards. Just hide behind anonymous accounts. So yeah. Oh, Jesse, you're so sweet. But look, guys, if you want to watch Dumo, please go watch Dumo. Like I said, I'm going to upload John Endres' show, just the hour of the interview, later on in the week. Probably, what's today? Monday? Wow, is today only Monday? Oh, my word. I don't know if anybody else had a really cock Monday. My Monday was really cocked tonight. I don't know what's up with this. Why is it not... Is it coming out blurry for you guys? Because it looks blurry on my side, and it doesn't seem to be... And it's weird because I did a test run, and it was clear, so I don't know why it's blurry now. It's the foreground, the background, I don't know. Maybe I need to get closer. Maybe is that better? I don't know. Yeah, I think that's better. I don't know. Shame, you can't see Spider-Man in the background. Look. He's blurry. and his head's chopped off. Anyway. So yeah, as I was saying, please don't feel obliged to watch me. I mean, I really don't mind. I mean, this is YouTube. If you want to watch it later, that's fine. I will have the 1 hour interview up later on in the week, so you guys can just watch the interview with John Endres. So yeah, but Jesse, still thank you for this kind words. Shale, is that how you pronounce it? Sorry if I'm butchering your name. Elbakov, pleasure to have you. Yeah, so anyway, I had a little bit of a rant there because, like, come on, guys, like, can we all just grow up for 1 second? When did we all become so? I blame. I'll tell you who I blame, or what I blame. Remember, like, a few years ago, there was that. I don't know, I think it was a university that did it or something, where they had what's it called? A safe room or something? A cry room, I think. Like, they built a room. They built a room. Yeah, it's Tony. Yeah, just a little slight blur. I don't know what's up with it, man. Like, I tested this like a day ago and it was fine. It was clear. I don't know why it's tripping up so much. I'll have to check my settings. I can't do it now live, so I'll have to wait till tomorrow. But yeah, it's weird, man. I don't know why this is becoming so weird. It's not even, don't know. All right, but yeah, I think it was the cry rooms that started all this, like, I don't know, babies. I don't know what else. A cry room, really. You guys remember that? It's insane. Anyway, in 13-ish minutes, yes, 13 minutes, John Endres will be joining, ladies and gentlemen. So what's going to happen in 13 minutes is going to be a 5-minute break in case you need to go to the bathroom, you want to get some snacks. 5-minute break. There's going to be some commercials. That's right, I got some commercials. Look at me, it's a proper show. So you guys can watch the commercials. I will change the commercials every now and again. Probably not every week, because it's a lot of it's a lot of work to do a commercial. But I'm kidding. I will obviously change the commercial because you don't want to watch the same commercial over and over. But I'm saying maybe once a month or once every 2 months. So it's like something different to watch. I'll try and make like a few versions as well. I got ideas, guys. Anyway, so there's a bit of a commercial, 5-minute commercial. This one's lame. I'll be honest. This commercial coming up is quite lame because I made it today and I was like in a rush and stuff, and I was like, I need to properly do this. But it was just something to put together. Anyway, look, last week you guys are gonna say, yeah, but Joe, you had like so much time to prepare. No, last week I was moving and there was a lot to do in this house. Like, I had to paint. I had to put up shelves. I had to deal with the garden because the Mexican in me just can't resist. And then I'm kidding. I think that's funny. Look, and then I was opening for Barry Hilton over the weekend, and it's like I had to prepare for that, and just so much was happening, okay, in the past week. I didn't have time to properly prepare, but I think I'm doing well. I think this is not a bad first show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna boast. I'm enjoying this. I am enjoying this. I'm enjoying talking to you guys. I'm enjoying that people, are interacting. Thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. And hopefully this is the first of many awesome episodes to come. And like I said, I'll be adding a lot more in the future. Anyway, Supercar Blondie, who I don't know who that is, has something similar to a cry room. Okay. You say so. It's all good, Joe. No, I didn't mean to sound rude there. I'm just saying I don't know who Supercar Blondie is. It's similar to a cry room. I don't know. Like, it feels like you're trying to say like a euphemism. That's. I don't know. My mind went there. It shouldn't have, but it did. It's all good, Joe. Thanks, Tony. Like, it's so cool you've been hanging out for the whole show, man. It's great. I don't know what happened to David. He kind of disappeared. I think he probably had to go study or work at 9 o'clock in the morning over there. It's so weird, man. Like, when people around the world watch you, because, like, the reason why I say that is, like, it's just weird. Like, Tony, for example, is in Canada. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, it's probably 10 o'clock, close to 10 o'clock now. And I mean, it just blows my mind. You know what I mean? Like, someone on the other side of the world is actually watching me. It's pretty cool. I don't know. But it's just me. Yeah, I saw that she showed it. Who's Supercar Blondie? Is it a subscriber of mine? I feel bad now. No, she has a soundproof room. Does she have a soundproof room so that she can cry in it? Why would you do that? I mean, I can kind of understand why you would do that. Big things going on here. Yes, and we're gonna be doing more. I'm gunning for some big guests as well this year. And even if I don't have a big guest, it's gonna be an interesting conversation. You can count on that. Like tonight. Tonight's a big guest and an interesting conversation. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm getting quite nervous, if I'm honest, because I'm be honest with you guys, okay? This is very, I don't know if this is professional or not. Probably not. But, I mean, it's the first show, pilot. Let's have some fun. She's a supercar buff. Okay. Cool. So, Ecamm is the program I use to stream. Okay, I love it. It's great. Very user-friendly. Now, they recently did an update where you can do preview mode. Okay, now I'll try and show it to you guys. So how can I do it? Okay, so let me do it now. Okay, so I've got two screens in front of me right now. One of which shows me a live feed. The other one's preview mode. Okay, the other screen's preview mode. So I can go into that screen and prepare whatever. Okay, I can do whatever I need to do, right? So if I wanted to, I don't know. I can't think of anything to do. Let's just say I wanted. Okay, let's do this. I can prepare quickly just to show you that there's something different. Let's do a square. You guys are so confused right now. We'll do this. Why is that doing that? So, like, obviously, like, I'd be talking to you guys about something else, for example, like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, did you hear what happened? It was crazy, man. It's, like, absolutely crazy. And then when I'm ready with whatever it is I was doing, I go, boom, and now you guys see what I was busy with, right? And then I can still, I think, do other things. Yes. So preview mode is like I could do other things in the background. You guys know. So I'm hoping that I can use this feature properly now to basically in the back end bring on John. So I don't have to cut the stream, if that makes sense. It's like a backstage kind of scenario, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm hoping. You guys might hear our sound check. That's what I'm worried about. Like, you guys are going to be watching ads, like my commercials. And, yeah. You guys might hear John and I talking. I hope not. And it would be cool if you guys that are watching now, when John and I come on, could tell me in the comment section, like, oh, we heard you, oh, we didn't heard you. That would just, like, it would really help me figure this out and know if I did it right. I'm very nervous about it. But it'd be cool. Like, okay, we're learning together. You guys are gonna help me out. You know, yeah. It's the first show. Come on, let's roll with it. Let's make some lemonade. John should actually be calling in any time now. So the 5-minute break is going to start if you guys want to go get something to eat or whatever, or if you want to stay and just see if you can hear us in the background. It's going to be a little bit embarrassing. But I gotta know because I gotta figure it out. I gotta make sure that everything's sorted. So yeah, people laughing. That's fine. Can you speak Spanish? I used to. When I was in Texas, I learned a little bit. I was being taught. Obviously, I left Texas when I was in grade 3. And here's John at the moment. So I think John can hear me. We'll have him on in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen, in the meantime. And we'll be back at 7 o'clock with the one and only John Endres, the new CEO of IRR, is going to be joining us in just a moment. So please excuse while John and I do a bit of a meet and greet just before the show. Okay, cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, this quick break. Don't go anywhere. 7 o'clock, John will be with us. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. While we're having a bit of a break and while we're here, I just thought I would let you guys know that you can become a member to this channel. When you become a member to this channel, there are 2 tiers. There's the Support Act and the Headliner Act. Each tier has its own perks. I'm not going to go into all the details right now, but just click on the join button, usually right next to the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed yet, by the way, subscribe. If you want to become a member, it would be greatly appreciated. It really goes a long way to supporting the channel and helping me to continue to create content for you guys. And just in case you might be interested, for some of you who may not know, I am also a stand-up comedian and I have a one-man show coming up in June of this year. There is a link in the description with all the details that you need to know, when, where, and how much, so please go check it out in the description below. There's also another show that I'm doing with fellow comedians. You may have seen our Say What show on this channel or the Late Night Chat show on this channel. We're doing a live show, and that's kind of a pun there because we mean in person with a live audience show. Please go to the link in the description below where you can find all the details. It is called Say What Unbuffered. So once again, take a gander at the links below and all the information will be there. Go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Let us know in the comment section if you heard us. I am here now with John Endres from IRR. He is the newly appointed CEO of IRR. John, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
No, thanks for inviting me, for having me on, Joe. I think we haven't really spoken to each other before at length. So I'm really looking forward to this, to meeting you and meeting your audience as well. You can see the comment section, and I'll keep an eye on those as we go along.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions for John, you can fire away. I will keep an eye on them, and at the last maybe 10 minutes of the show, we'll go through the questions and stuff. But please, if you have any questions, do fire away. John, important question for you. You have some, in my opinion, this is just me, okay, big shoes to fill.
Well, I think on that first issue, we can already agree, because that is certainly true. So I took over from Franz Cronje, who I think was on your show a few times. And Franz, I think, is really an amazing South African, and also did amazing things with the Institute, which is in itself an amazing organization, which has managed the incredible feat of surviving for over 90 years in this crazy country, South Africa. And I think the way it has done that is by constantly reinventing itself. And that is something that Franz did when he took over, and that's something that Franz's predecessor also did, John Kane Berman, when he took over in 1983. At each of those instances, the context was different, the environment was different, and it required something different from the organization. And I think that really is the secret to its survival.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what the IRR does is amazing. I mean, I think I told Franz this as well. It's actually quite disappointing how some South Africans think that the IRR is like a racist institution, ironically called, the Institute of Race Relations, but
critics don't get tired of pointing out.
But I mean, apparently, because I once was obviously, social media, people going to argue, and you always get trolls. But the one time I was trying to, use some of the stats from IRR to say like, hey, maybe look at these stats, these say otherwise, and then the guy literally outright said like, those are racist stats, and I don't know. I didn't know that was. I didn't know that existed. I didn't know you get racist stats.
Well, it's an easy way to dismiss your opponent. It's a very powerful word in today's world to accuse somebody of being a racist. It immediately dismisses their opinions and their views and their statistics as being not worthy of consideration. And the nice thing about it is that you don't need to really back it up. If you think of critical race theory, it's got this beautiful Kafka trap where it says, if you were to call me a racist, I have two options. I can deny it, which proves that I am a racist because I'm getting defensive about it and I'm not acknowledging it. Or I can admit it and say, yes, I am a racist. But this kind of Kafka trap, is I think a kind of logic that you don't need to accept or engage with, because it is a really subversive way of arguing, and I think not a very fair or just way of arguing or debating issues.
No, absolutely. I think there's look, I've learned since then to just, if someone says stuff like that, I'm just like, okay, well, there's no discussion here. It's just you believe what you want to believe. But I want to get back to just very quickly, how has your first, I think it's your first month now, how has it been? Been stressful?
Well, yes. So I've been with the Institute now for 1.5 years. So I joined as Chief of Staff in July 2020. And so I really had a very good period of transition, working with France, working with the team, and getting to understand the organization and everything that goes on there. But it is certainly a very intense, fast-paced environment in which there's always a lot going on, and the pressure never really lets up. I think it's also a reflection of our country, which has many challenges and really requires you to be on your toes all the time. There's always something to react to respond to, or to criticize, or to make suggestions for improvements. So yeah, it is a very intense place to work at, but I think also its output really reflects that degree of intensity. So we're just working on our board report, and going through the statistics of what we did last year, and the output is phenomenal. I think we published over 1,300 op-eds last year. So it's like almost 4 per day. And, we're only a team of 30. So those people are working really hard. And we do research reports, we do submissions, we do campaigns, we do all sorts of things, engagements, we do podcasts, we do YouTube shows. There really is a lot going on.
Yes, no, you guys are extremely busy, which is good. It's good ways of getting your name out there and brand awareness. I think, and one way I think is a good way, which you've mentioned now, you guys do campaigns, and some of those campaigns, I've supported myself. I've talked about them on my show. One of which is the IRR's campaign to end the lockdown. How is that going? I had Gabriel Kraus on the show towards the end of last year when you guys first started it, the campaign. How's that been going?
So I think it is beginning to shift not only public opinion, which I think was broadly aligned with the desire to get rid of the state of disaster, and also to challenge the National Coronavirus Command Council, which is a sort of not properly democratically legitimated and it's not subject to proper parliamentary oversight kind of body. But it also seems that even the authorities are beginning to realize that there is maybe a problem with extending the state of disaster further and further. I believe President Ramaphosa a couple of weeks ago said, that people should consider challenging the state of disaster, because if there are grounds to challenge it, then it should be challenged, and certainly they are. I think we are in a completely different place now than we were 2 years ago, and it is a bit alarming that the framework that was developed at that time to manage the disaster, to manage the emergency, is still in place, because I think it does grant far too sweeping powers to the state, and those really do need to be circumscribed quite a lot more.
No, I agree with you 100%. It's weird to me how Cyril, he's done this before. He's like, oh no, let someone else decide. Like he did it with the gun rights thing, with the taking away the excuse for self-defense. He did it with mandatory vaccines as well. He's like, we'll see what happens. Let the people, let the courts decide. I mean, it's kind of spineless in my opinion.
Well, interestingly, I think that this question of vaccine mandates is one that many governments find very difficult to deal with. And I'm thinking now of Germany, for example, where the health minister has been twisting and winding his way through getting to a position on it. So he's sort of in favor of mandates. He was asked, will you bring a bill into parliament or put forward a motion for vaccine mandates to be introduced? And he said, well, that would not be quite appropriate for me as the minister. That should really be done by the parliamentarians. But if somebody does it, then I'll add my signature to it. And you can see how they're passing the buck between the government and parliament, and nobody really wants to do it, even though they do want to do it, but they're a bit scared of doing it. And so it sort of gets stuck in limbo. And I think we're in that kind of situation here in South Africa as well. Some medical experts do think that there should be vaccine mandates. Some companies think there should be, and the government listens to them, but it also listens to all the opposition voices of people who say no such thing must be allowed in South Africa. And so it sort of gets, dragged out and doesn't move forward.
Do you think that maybe like the private institutions, though, they're a bit scared? Like, okay, so let's take a real kind of scenario. Let's use, some government, a company that works with the government. They get their what's it called? BE tenors. What do you call it again?
Points. BE points.
Yeah, that stuff, and they get the deals or whatever it is through BE. If I'm a company that makes a lot of money, and let's say everything's above board, there's no corruption happening. We file for I think it's called tenders or something. And
it's a thought experiment.
Yeah,
exactly. So we assume that everything was above board.
Yeah,
clean government and so on. Yes.
If I'm someone that my government is a client, and then they say like, look, we're going to leave it up to the companies to get the mandatory vaccines, and kind of suggest that the right thing to do is to implement mandatory vaccines, I think the companies then go like, well, we don't want to lose business and upset the government, so let's do the mandatory vaccines and kind of do the dirty work for the government. That's what I feel is happening.
Yeah, it could be. That's kind of the way VAT works as well, value-added tax, where the companies are actually the collecting agents of the state. They collect the tax for the government. And BEE also works like that in a way where you get points for buying from companies that have a high BEE status. That gives you points. So you are going to ask your suppliers to please provide their BEE status. You get a sort of cascading effect of compliance through the economy. And they might do that here. I'm not really seeing signs of that, but it's not a bad idea. Of course, if it now gets introduced, they can always say that they heard it on the Joe Emilio Show first.
No, don't do that. No, look. I think the mandatory vaccines. I've always said this on the show. I don't care if you get the vaccine or not. I just don't think any government should force its people to get it. I think everybody has a right of choice, especially when it comes to medication. Be well informed and make a decision. And yeah, you shouldn't be forced to under any circumstances, whether it be by private company or the government. Private company, I've been told, is a bit of a gray area, but yeah.
You see, also, if we're doing thought experiments, I think you can conceive of situations where a vaccine mandate might be warranted. If you consider that it's a different disease, it's not COVID, but it's a disease that's much more dangerous than COVID, that kills much more quickly, that is transmitted much faster, and we've got a vaccine that actually stops the transmission. You might say, look, I realize that this is really infringing upon your rights, etc., but we've got to stop this thing. Otherwise, we're going to wipe out half the population. Then I would say, yes, you should consider it. But
yeah,
COVID is not that disease.
Yeah, and I was going to say that, like, that's exactly it. I mean, if the stats showed otherwise, and showed there wasn't all these statistics of people getting negatively affected by the vaccine, or that they actually worked, because we've seen, media say, oh, it protects you, and then a few months later they're changing the story. There's a lot of, not miscommunication, but confusion. And therefore, the people don't trust what the government says anymore, and that causes the vaccine hesitancy, among other things. And yeah, I would agree with you. Basically, like if it was a disease that really, like a zombie kind of apocalypse situation,
or Ebola, for example,
or Ebola,
people start bleeding out of their eyes and then die.
Exactly, I would agree with that.
Yeah, might want to go for it. And with these vaccines, also, I think. Some of the promise they held, I think, has been realized. So they do protect against hospitalization and death. But there are a lot of aspects that sort of are not really getting enough coverage. And one of them, I think, is the protection conferred by prior infection, which Gabriel might also have spoken about, which is a really important thing.
Yeah.
If you had COVID in the past, you will have some degree of protection to the disease in the future. And that should be reflected, if your vaccination status is recorded, or if you are asked to be vaccinated again, you might say, well, I might get further benefit from a vaccination, but maybe it is so marginal that it's not really worth it. I think that's quite conceivable. But I think the vaccinations, so I'm actually quite in favor of the vaccines. I think they are a remarkable, advance in human research ingenuity to get these vaccines produced so quickly in such enormous quantities, and I'm sure they've done a lot of good. But of course there are concerns, as I'm sure some of our viewers will let us know.
Yeah, I'm not sure where. I think most of my viewers would lean towards that the COVID vaccine is not exactly the best vaccine in the world. I'm still on the fence, if I'm honest. I'm the kind of person, like, I like to get information. And that's why I haven't taken the vaccine yet, because, look, a lot of my friends have. I have no problem with that. And they're fine. Absolutely 100% fine. But there are a few that have problems. Like the one friend of mine, he got, I think it was after his booster shot, he got a chronic, illness of some kind, which he never had before. He's a healthy guy. He goes to the gym. He eats healthy, he does everything right. He's never really been that sick. And now he's got some kind of weird chronic illness that he has to take medication for every day and stuff like that. And he said it happened right after his second booster shot. Nothing confirmed that it was that, but I mean, yeah.
You see, this is, also what makes it so complicated, because with any medical treatment, there is a trade-off.
Yeah.
Like if you go in for an operation, for example, to remove your appendix, might say, hell, it's sort of cutting into me, or cutting something out of me. It's going to be painful. I might die. And that is the call that the doctor needs to make, and he
Yeah.
says, your appendix is inflamed, it might rupture, and then it's going to kill you. So, as bad as the operation is, go for it, because it
Yeah.
could save your life. And these trade-offs are, I think, often hard to evaluate
Yeah.
for us as lay people, and especially now with COVID, because so much information and misinformation has been put out by both sides that you do wonder where you stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this decision quite tricky, and that was what has caused a lot of hesitancy as well.
I would
Just
agree with
making
that.
that trade-off calculation.
No, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, I remember the whole 5G conspiracy stuff, which I mean, some of my viewers may not like what I'm about to say, but that there's nothing wrong with 5G, guys. Like, I get that some people are sensitive to waves. I get that. I've met people who are sensitive to waves. I get that. But I have 5G on my phone. I have 5G around me. I'm fine. Like, I don't know what else you. So, like, it's weird. And YouTube might now red flag me because I said 5G like 10 times. But, but, but yeah, anyway. Look, I think we both can agree, and I know the IR agrees with this and stuff. Again, forcing people is just not right. And we can debate about the circumstances and stuff, but in the world we are in today, I think I don't want to give the ANC that amount of power to be able to force people to be vaccinated. That's a scary thought for me. I don't think they'd be able to implement it, but still, it's a scary thought.
Yeah, and I think that there would be a thriving market in vaccine passports that would spring up overnight. And you would, so I think probably more or less futile to have something like that.
Yeah, but speaking about the ANC and black market stuff, I really wanted to chat to you about where you think. Let's take it in a two-part question. So the first part of the question is, from now till 2024, what do you think the landscape of South Africa is going to be like? Politically, and also on a local level. So let's start with that, and then we'll get into the second part.
So I think if you draw a line back to 5 years into the past, and then 2 or 3 years into the future to the next elections, I think in many areas you're going to see a continuation of an established trend. And many of these indicators are just pointing in really bad directions, and that includes economic growth. It includes unemployment. It includes infrastructure destruction, just wearing out, being stolen, being destroyed, etc. And I think that's not going to change before 2024. But I do think that there was a very significant change that happened at the election in 2021, which was just the fact of the ANC dropping below that 50% mark. Because what that did is that it wiped out the aura of invulnerability that accompanied the ANC in the past, where you would always bet on the ANC because they'd always gotten above 50%, and you couldn't really picture a situation where they wouldn't be above 50%. But now you've had the demonstration in actual real life of the ANC dropping below 50. And I think that is psychologically a very important change, both on the part of voters, but also within the ANC itself, which must feel slightly shaken in its self-confidence. And I think that loss of self-confidence also is sensed by the voters. As a political party, if you want to get votes, you have to appear confident. You need to appear self-assured. You need to appear in control. You need to appear that you know what you're doing. And that is less and less the case of the ANC. If you think of the fact that they weren't able to pay their staff salaries for a number of months, that's a real crisis, even though they have allegedly now been paid. Or the fact that they didn't register all their candidates before the local government elections, which is such a basic failing. Speaking to some farmers, we'd say this is like a farmer forgetting to plant. During the season, it's just inconceivable. You can't do that if you're a farmer. And the same thing as a political party. You can't sort of miss an election or forget to register for an election. And so I think that was a very important change, and I think that is really the important fact that we need to keep in mind as we move towards 2024 through time. I think at the municipal level and also at the national level, the trends of decline that we've spotted over the past years are going to continue. So I don't think there's going to be an economic recovery. I think most towns and municipalities aren't going to have a quick turnaround and sort of start working properly again, because the ANC doesn't have the capacity to introduce changes that would make that come about. And that ultimately also points to what is going to happen to the ANC in 2024, which is probably a further decline in support. We know that they usually do better in national elections than local elections. But even so, I think there are now so many indicators that are going against them that they are going to drop down further, probably below the 46, which they got in the local government elections. And that is really the sort of the big topic that I think we are working on as the IR as well, to think about what it would mean if there was a change in government in 2024. Who might come into government? What sort of policies would they introduce? What should they be thinking about, doing differently, in order to fix the many things that are wrong in South Africa?
Yeah, no, I think that's why I keep an eye on you guys, is because I'm always interested by what you guys predict, and so far, you guys have been right on the money. I mean, I remember just before the elections, just before the last election, the local elections. I think it was CRA had released a kind of poll, like they predicted what the elections would look like, and it was pretty much spot on. I think there was only the DA was the result of the DA was wrong, or EFF, and again, that goes. I mean, I've never seen a poll that's been like on point like that, and it was great to see. So I keep an eye on you guys.
I think I must talk about the polling a little bit, because a poll isn't really a prediction of an election outcome. So, a poll is you're trying to get a representative sample. You know that you're going to have a margin of error. And you also know that you're taking a measurement at one point in time, which is not election day. So if you're 4 weeks before, within those 4 weeks, things can happen that swing things one way or the other. And so what you try to do as an analyst, what we try to do, is that we took our polling numbers, which is like the raw data, and then we applied our experience and the trends and sentiment, what we thought was going to happen, to make a prediction. And the hardest call we made was whether the ANC was going to be above or below 50, because our polling, I think, said something like 50.1 or 51%, with a margin of error of plus minus 4. So that didn't really tell us what was going to happen. And in the end, we canvassed all our colleagues and we said, guys, what do you think? What do you think? And we said 49. We thought, we're making the call they were going to come in below 50%. And as it turned out, we were too conservative. They dropped further than that.
Yeah.
And maybe part of the reason why that happened was because we had load shedding the week before the election, which is an amazing thing, because if you've got a state-owned electricity utility like we do in South Africa with Eskom, if there's 1 week in every 5 years where there must be no load shedding, it is the week before an election. That is the week when, if you don't have enough power, you take the office furniture from the boardroom at Eskom and you throw it into the furnace in order to make those electricity generators keep going. But despite that, they were not able to keep the lights on. The power went off, and I think it did hurt the ANC in the polls.
Yeah, interesting. I never thought about the load shedding. I think, like, for most South Africans, it makes us angry, but we're at the same time used to it. It's terrible to say that. It's like the crime stats. Crime is so bad here, but when you tell people about the crime stats, they're like, yeah, well, what are you gonna do? It's South Africa. Like, no, this is a problem. But I wanted to backtrack just a little bit. So I wanted to ask you, because mentioning crime as well. Do you think we're going to see more protests leading up to 2024? Do you think we're going to see greater upset?
I do think so, yes. And one of the reasons is, firstly, we track violent protests and have tracked them using police data for the past 20 years or so. And you can see two different periods in South Africa. You can see violent protests at a certain level up to about 2008 or so, 2007, 2008. That was the period when the economy was growing. It was before the global financial crisis. And you had a sort of certain low level of violent protests going on all that time. But after that, after the global financial crisis, our economy stopped growing. We stopped creating jobs. Jacob Zuma became president. So all sorts of things went wrong in the country. You can see violent protests taking off steeply. And that line, I think, is going to continue to remain high and maybe even climb further because more people are going to be without jobs. Plus, inflation is making a bit of a comeback. This morning, we released a risk note on fertilizer prices in the world because you might say that's a really abstract thing. What's that got to do with anything? But that's actually quite important because fertilizer prices influence food prices. And what we are seeing reports of from the United States is some farmers, maize farmers or corn farmers as they call them there, transitioning away from maize to soy because soy doesn't need as much fertilizer as maize does. What that can cause is a drop in the production of maize worldwide because fertilizer prices are high for everyone, even for South African farmers anywhere in the world. It's gotten, prices have doubled in the space of a year. And as a farmer, you have to make that call now. Can I still make a profit if my input costs are so much higher? Or do I transition to other plants? Do I, wait out a year and not plant this year, or only plant half the amount? You have to respond to this. But the cumulative effect of this can be that you get a drop in the production of maize and other food crops as well. That will lead to a spike in prices, driving inflation, but also specifically increasing food prices. And if you think of our situation here in South Africa, with 46% unemployment and so many people in poverty, they are really going to suffer if the price of bread goes up and the price of chicken goes up and the price of mealie goes up. So, that is going to drive a great deal of dissatisfaction, unhappiness, hunger, and probably some violence as well. Yeah. So I do think we're going to see some more protests and eruptions.
Yeah, you paint such a beautiful picture, John.
It's a bit bleak, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, look, it's. We went grocery shopping last week, and my wife doesn't do the grocery shopping. I do it. But last week was the first time in quite a while, I think probably before lockdown, that she actually came with me and stuff. And she was like, "Why is it so expensive? Like, when did an avocado cost like 25 rand?" I was like, "It's been like this for a year. Like, things have gone up. Things have gone up, and we're all feeling it. And yeah, my heart goes out to those that don't have a job. And again, the ANC policy is what caused the jobless. I mean, like we hear Cyril now saying that he's going to talk about making. Might be lost on the correct terms here, but basically he wants to make South Africans a preference when it comes to employment. Something that he's going to talk about apparently in his SONA address this coming Thursday. And it's like foreign nationals, in my opinion, are not really the problem. I think it's the ANC policies that they have in the labor laws that are the problem, and education. A big part of it is education. You educate the people, you give them the skills they need to go out into the world so that they can work, or even if they just have a skill like plumbing or carpentry or whatever the case, so that they can, again, it's that whole metaphor or saying, teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime, But would you agree with that, or do you have more to say on that?
Yeah, so I think this anti-foreigner sentiment you need to see as part of a pattern as well. So Herman Mashaba and Action SA, I think, built a little bit of a platform on that, a political platform. And since the beginning of the year, you've seen the EFF hop on the bandwagon. You've seen the IFP hop on the bandwagon. You've seen the Patriotic Alliance hop on the bandwagon. You've seen Action SA continuing with it. And now you've also seen the ANC hopping on the same bandwagon. And the regulatory change that you're referring to, I think, is only one aspect of that. Add additional observations. One is the termination of the Zimbabwe exemption permits, which is, a special kind of visa category for Zimbabweans introduced a long time ago, I think in 2009, and giving Zimbabweans the possibility of working and living in South Africa. So they want to bring that to an end. They were going to do it by the end of 2021, and then on the 29th of December, extended it by a year, so gave a grace period. But effectively what they want is by the end of that year, for all Zimbabweans in South Africa under that permit to leave the country if they cannot find a different kind of visa that allows them to stay here. And you can already hear the pressure being ratcheted up on the regular visa categories. So that is, an example of the ANC moving that way. And then the regulatory change you're talking about is that they are proposing to define certain industry sectors where no foreigners may be employed or work, and to define quotas for other sectors. So it's literally like the Job Reservation Act under apartheid times. And I think it really is a terrible, terrible idea, not just because it does an injustice to the people directly affected by it, but also because it creates a kind of mental model where you create an us versus them kind of model. Say us, the South Africans, we're the good guys. Those foreigners, they are the evil ones. They are the scapegoats. They are the ones who are responsible for all the problems we've got. If only we can get rid of the foreigners, then our country will flourish. And it is a mendacious and appalling lie to put into the world, especially because this kind of mental model, once it has been established, is so easy to replicate and to apply to other groups. So you can say, actually the problem isn't the foreigners, it's the Muslims, or it's the Jews, or it's the whites, or it's the Pedis, or you can define so many different groups, and ultimately everybody's part of a minority. If you just define identity down several levels, everybody's part of minority, and that means that everybody's at risk of this kind of idea taking hold of us versus them. Let's go after the minority and blame them for the problems. It's very, very dangerous.
It is extremely dangerous because, and it's like amazing to me, John, how some people have seemed to have forgotten about history. I mean, I remember a very, very influential slash, and not in a good way, powerful man who also hated a certain group of people and put them in concentration camps and said that they were the problems for his country that he was fighting for, and he believed he was in the right as much as some of the other people in the ANC believe they're in the right, or actually say, or whatever these politicians believe. And he ended up killing quite a significant amount of people. And that is the dangers that you speak of, like when you start marginalizing people and you start saying, oh, this group of people are the problem. Oh, that rhetoric is so dangerous. And it's amazing to me how we seem not to learn from history.
Yeah. And there's that famous quote by Pastor Niemöller, and I'm not going to get it quite right, but sort of paraphrased. He said, when they came for the Jews, I did not speak up because I was afraid. When they came for the homosexuals, I didn't speak up because I was afraid. But then when they came for me, there was nobody left to speak up for me. So,
Yeah, I know that quote.
It means that every single one of us really should speak up and has to speak up about these sorts of things.
Yep, absolutely. It's a scary thought. Is IRR doing anything about the Zimbabwean situation?
Not at the moment, no. So, I mean, this is still quite recent for us. We've covered it in our risk alerts twice now. This sort of shift towards anti-immigrant sentiment, and we are also at the moment starting a campaign on the Employment Equity Amendment Bill, which is a sort of a tightening up of employment equity legislation. And I see a link between these two things. Again, you're sort of defining groups and defining different rules for different groups in society. So it may well be that as part of the campaigning on that, we also do, give some coverage to the foreigners as an issue.
Yeah, because apparently it's going to be about 250,000 Zimbabweans are going to have to relocate back to Zimbabwe. And I was watching an ENCA segment where they had a lawyer, immigration lawyer, talking about the case and saying that the thing is these permits were made, like you said earlier, to allow Zimbabweans to come into South Africa and work and make a living here, especially because at the time there was political and economic unrest. As far as I can tell, that hasn't changed. Or am I wrong?
Well, I think it peaked around that time. So I think it was around the time of elections in Zimbabwe, and people were getting beaten up and tortured and detained and killed and so on. And I think at a low intensity level, it continues. It's not as acute as it was at that time. But there's another aspect I would like to bring into this, which is that much of the rhetoric, of the anti-foreigner rhetoric, associates being a foreigner with being a criminal. So it will say, those Nigerian drug dealers and those Zimbabwean cash in transit, heist thieves and so on, They are the problem. And if only we could get rid of them, then the drug trafficking would stop and our communities would be safe and our cash and transit truck drivers would be safe. And I think that's also quite mendacious, because the way you should look at it is that a person who commits a crime should be caught and prosecuted. And it doesn't actually matter whether that person is a local or a foreigner. The question is their behavior and their actions. Are they in line with the laws or not? And what we see in South Africa is that it is the failure of law enforcement that has allowed this narrative to gain such hold, because the police is not very good at catching criminals, be they South African or be they foreigners. And that is ultimately the cause. It is state failure, it is governance failure that is causing these problems. And that is what needs to be addressed. And deporting foreigners or going on pogroms to kill them is not going to solve the problem. It simply cannot. And I also see some comments like Jesse's comment on the foreigners dominating the tuck shop industry. Yeah, and they do, dominate certain industries. And again, for me, this is a governance question where you would say if they're offering a better service, a cheaper product, then by all means let them compete on equal terms.
Yeah.
An accusation that's leveled against foreign business people is sometimes, or traders, is that they don't pay taxes or they're not properly registered, et cetera, et cetera. And that is a problem you can address on its own merits. So you could say, look, we've got two tuck shops, one next to the other, one run by a South African who pays VAT and income tax, and the one with the foreigner next to him who doesn't. And that is unfair. You can say, yes, that is actually unfair. And then, but then that is the problem you have to address. It's not, that the foreigner is sort of illegal for the sake of it. Just regularize him.
Yeah,
that's what exactly. I would say.
No, absolutely. I agree with you 100% there. I will get to some of the questions. Keep the questions coming in, guys. I will, in the final 10 minutes of the conversation, address them. I have been keeping notes of the questions. I just want to ask John, maybe before we get to the questions. Okay, so you mentioned earlier where you think the road to or beyond 2024 is going to lead. I really want to know, right now, as it stands, with all your knowledge and that beautiful mind of yours, who do you think, if the ANC is not going to be in power in 2024, who's going to take over?
Yeah, I mean, this is really the critical question. And we used to think that, to use an analogy, South Africa is the African savannah, and there's this huge mighty buffalo who dominates the savannah and, rules the roost unchallenged, and has done so for many, many years. And analysts and commentators are always speculating about the lion who's going to take down the buffalo. And they look up in the trees, they look behind the bushes, they look in the tall grass for the big lion that will take down the mighty buffalo. And year after year, election after election, there is no lion. And the disappointment is great, because you think, oh, damn it, we should really deserve a change in government. But I think what we saw after the 2021 elections is that this buffalo is not going to be taken down by a lion, but it can be taken down by a pack of wild dogs who are smaller and not as powerful as a buffalo, but they are very successful hunters in reality out in the field. They are more successful than lions. And an individual wild dog cannot take down a buffalo, but a pack of wild dogs working together with focus and as a team can do it. And I think this is exactly the situation we find ourselves in South Africa at the moment. We've got these smaller parties, with the DA as the biggest among them, but also the Freedom Front Plus and Inkatha and Action SA, and a host of smaller parties like the ACDP, Al Jamar, the Patriotic Alliance, Good, all these small guys. If they sort of get the idea in their heads that they've actually got a chance of being in government if they work together and they can take down that big old buffalo, I think they've got a chance of doing it. But it is a small and very difficult opportunity, because the obstacles are huge. For these parties to work together, to manage to cooperate, to not be, broken apart by ANC influence or by personal animosities, is a huge ask. And the way I picture it is that, to get to 2024, you imagine that you're holding up a needle and you need to push a thread through that needle. And it's very difficult because that eye is very small. For this to work with a coalition, you haven't got one needle, you've got a row of needles leading to 2024. And you need to thread this thread to all of them. You need to get all of it right in order for it to work. So it's not impossible, but it's very, very difficult. But I think that is the opportunity that presents itself. And opportunities like this don't often come around, you know. So it may be that if 2024 doesn't work out for these wild dog parties, they might not have an opportunity in 2029. Not because, you know, the ANC is growing stronger again, but because the space for democratic expression gets closed down. You know, it's the IEC that might not hold completely free elections anymore. It is the press that might not be completely free anymore. It is the political parties that might be constrained from, you know, campaigning and recruiting voters. So I think this, you know, this opportunity is a rare one, and one that these parties really need to work on, which I think they are doing. And if you look at the metros, for example, Johannesburg, Tshwane, Ekurhuleni, these parties, you know, for them to have gotten into government in the first place was already a long shot, because, you know, Action SA doesn't like the DA, and the DA doesn't like the EFF. Nobody likes the ANC at the moment. So how does this mess of parties find a way to come together to make it work? And the DA, I think, got into power by surprise. They weren't expecting it. You know, they really weren't expecting it, but they found themselves in office suddenly. So they crossed one hurdle. That first needle was threaded. And then the next needle, of course, is that you need to elect your chairpersons of your committees. And the ANC and the EFF tried to disrupt the meetings, and there were tensions, and Action SA said they were going to break out, and Al Jamar did break out, and the PA came into the coalition, and, you know, all sorts of shenanigans and negotiations had to happen, but they managed to elect their chairpersons. The next thing is going to be budgets. You know, you have to vote on the budgets, and you have to pass them with a majority of votes. And again, you know, you're going to battle to thread that needle. But if you do it, you're building a basis. This is like your test case for 2024. If these parties can point to one of the metros and say, look, we made it work. Everybody said it couldn't be done because it's too hard. It's impossible for these parties to work together. But look at the past 3 years, look at the track record, look at how governance has improved over the short period. Give us a chance. I think that's going to be hugely powerful.
Yeah, no, I don't know, coalition government, man.
Yes,
it's
I
just
think we don't get to choose, Joe. You know, because of our political system, we've got this proportional representation system.
yeah.
We've got no thresholds for parliamentary representation, and that means that this fragmentation, the splintering, is a completely natural and normal process. I think it was unnatural to have a single dominant party for as long as we did. The ANC was for historical reasons. But actually, based on the rules of the game, it's proportional representation with percentages. It means that it's natural to have lots of smaller parties, and that means you are going to have coalitions. I think that's inevitable.
Well, like you said, if they can put their egos aside, and see, my problem is I don't trust politicians. That's my problem. Any politician.
Well, yes.
And I don't always believe they have the best interests for the people.
No. Let me give you some comfort. Okay, so I want you to put an idea in your head, which is the Patriotic Alliance. Okay, so it's led by a former bank robber, effectively, Gayton McKenzie, who, when after the elections in Johannesburg, said that he was going to work with the ANC, was going to give his votes to the ANC. Then the DA was elected as the sort of into leading the municipality, and the PA, without batting an eyelash, said, in that case, actually, we're not going to be with the ANC. There's a bunch of losers. They're out of government. We're going to go with the DA. And I think that this lack of principle is predictable in some parties. Okay, so I mean, I'm not going to generalize across all the parties and all the politicians, but this is a good example where you might say, you know, you as Joe Emilio said, oh, I can't stand it. They haven't got principles, and then they just change sides like that. Yes, they do, but they do so predictably. And this, you can use this. You can say, look, I understand, you know, principle is not what guides their decisions, but their decisions are guided by certain, you know, reasonings. And if you understand those reasonings, then you can make an argument why they should behave in a certain way or different way.
Fair point. Very fair point. It's politicking, for lack of a better term. Okay, one more question from me, and then I'll go to the questions in the comment section. I gotta ask, because I asked Franz this, and I've asked most of my guests about this. Your opinion on Cape secession?
Yeah. So I I don't go all the way down the road personally, and the reason why I don't is that I think that despite what some of the sort of more cultural identity focused folks say, I do think that there is such a thing as a South African identity. I do think that there are benefits from being in one country, from being able to interact freely without having a border in the way. I also find it very difficult to imagine a border control post on the N1 as you drive from Johannesburg to Cape Town, inspecting passports with a fence on either side, with border guards with machine guns, making sure that foreigners don't come in. I find that hard to imagine. Another reason why I find it hard is that I do worry about the risk of violent conflict. So, is the Western Cape going to take up arms, if necessary, to fight the National Army, the South African National Defence Force? Is that conceivable? Is it desirable? Is it, something you even want to think about? And it's not something I think is conceivable or desirable. So now I've given you all the reasons against sort of Cape independence. And I'll give you the reasons why I think that you can walk some way down that road. And the way you go down that road is that you go towards a much stronger form of federalism and autonomy for the Western Cape. And I think this is plausible, so you don't leave the South African Union, but you pretty much do your own thing in the Western Cape. And, you use all the leeway that the Constitution gives you and a bit more than that, because you are faced with a government that is, not totally in control of the country anymore. So in many cases, I think you can go ahead and do things without permission, being in the Western Cape, that are good for people in the Western Cape. And the central government might, complain a bit, but I think ultimately they can't do much about it. One good example would have been vaccine rollout at the beginning, when the South African government was asleep on the job. They forgot to order the vaccines when the rest of the world was already ordering. Then they couldn't get the rollout right, etc., etc. And this was such an opportunity for the Western Cape to say, we as a province of the country of South Africa are going to negotiate with the manufacturers directly. We'll get our own vaccines, we're going to distribute them, and we'll start vaccinating the people of the Western Cape. This would have been illegal. And the national government could have stopped them and said, you haven't got approval, you haven't got licenses, you can't do this. And they could have physically stopped the Western Cape from vaccinating the people of the Western Cape. But imagine how that would have played out, how that would have looked. Would have said, this government is saving the lives of its people because the national government is too incompetent to do the same thing. And now they are preventing the Western Cape government from saving the lives of people, literally. They're letting people die rather than let the Western Cape do its own thing. Imagine, how the headlines would have played out if they'd done that.
I don't know, man. Mainstream media or corporate media, they would have twisted it, I think. They would have been like, look at how the whites want to take control over the black government. They would have twisted it in some way and made it racial, and DA is racist because they think that the ANC is incompetent, ergo black people are competent. That's the kind of direction they probably would have gone in.
You do often get that, yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just take the risk and you
No, look, it would have been nice to see. You're right. It would have been nice to see. Despite what I think about,
they can actually do the same with the lockdowns.
But
so again, they could say, look, we as the Western Cape are going to lift the lockdowns now. Our scientists say it's fine. No more mask mandates. No vaccine mandate. If you want a vaccine, walk into one of our stations. You can get one.
Yeah.
But as far as we're concerned, this thing is now over.
The DA. This is the thing. The DA doesn't have a spine, and that's why I say most of these politicians don't have a spine. We used to be led by leaders, I think, and this goes across the world, not just in South Africa. And I don't know, like, there's a weird thing in South Africa where people treat these politicians like they're kings and queens, and I'm like, these people work for us. Like, like, I don't know where this mentality. Like, I saw this one EFF MP. Now, I'm not a fan of the EFF, but she called Cyril a little boy, and oh my word, the backlash she got from that. And look, I agree with her because he doesn't have a spine. He's a coward. I'll say it outright. I don't care. and I have a right to say that. He's a president. He works for me. My taxes are what pays his salary. So, but yet there's this weird kind of monarchy, weird, like, back in the day when the king had a jester. If the jester dared made fun of the king, off with his head, and it kind of feels like it's in that time
Well,
again.
yes, I hear you, but I must speak up in defense of South African democracy here. Because here you can say things like that, like what you just said, which in any other country north of our border would get you locked up.
That is
So
true. That is
we're
true.
actually a pretty free society. We can say all sorts of outrageous stuff without serious consequence. We'll probably get, you might get cancelled. You might get the mainstream media criticizing you, but you can still say it.
At this point, I think I've been cancelled. I wouldn't say a few times. I've been cancelled. It's not fun, but at this point, I'm independent now. Try, just
and this
try.
is the way of the future, I think.
Yeah.
Like what we're seeing is playing out with Joe Rogan at the moment.
Yes.
That's exactly this kind of situation.
Absolutely. All right. So before I let you go, let me just go to some of the questions that people were asking in the comment section, and I want to thank everyone again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Just before we go, let's look at some of the comments that popped up here. Jesse asking, a coalition government with a DA leader as president, is South Africa ready for another white president?
Yeah, Jesse, I think you're really asking a controversial and hard question. And I think probably the answer is no, I think. So I think what would happen if you got the coalition into government is that the largest party, if that is the DA, would not necessarily get to choose the president, even though by rights, they should be able to. But I think in that case, you'd probably see some sort of deal being made of one of the smaller parties getting the presidency, I think. I'm not sure. That's a really tough call.
Yeah, well, I think that's why the DA has stayed in the Western Cape, and not intentionally. I spoke to some South Africans in Joburg, like an Uber driver and another friend and so on, and some of the people we were hanging out with, they didn't even know who John was, John Steenhuisen. They didn't know. They had no idea. I was like,
we saw that in our polling as well, Joe. So, you've got the anecdotal evidence and we have the polling evidence, but that was very true. He had a very low degree of recognizability, I think partly because he was still relatively new in the job, and he also came into office of the leader of the opposition during the lockdowns, so he couldn't really go to rallies and be really active in the media. But still, for the DA, it must be a concern that their leader isn't well enough known.
Absolutely. Tony asking, I have a question. Why hasn't Zimbabwe been overtaken, invaded, and taken over by neighboring countries yet? I always thought this so easy.
Well, I think that Zimbabwe probably has the strongest army of any of the countries in the neighborhood. It is battle tested. It's fought in the DRC. I think that our army, sadly, is not very strong. Namibia and Botswana, too small. Mozambique, too disorganized. DRC, no governance. So there's no candidate, really. I think it might even be more likely that Zimbabwe would invade South Africa and take over South Africa.
Oh man, that'd be interesting. Deborah is not really saying much of a question, but it's more like comments regarding the election in Eskom. Maybe De Ruyter is doing a good job by planning lights out 1 week before the election.
Yeah, and maybe not only De Ruyter, but other opponents of the ANC within Eskom. These rumors of sabotage,
espionage, yeah,
keep making the rounds. I take them with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Jesse also asking, will Cyril serve a second term?
At the moment, I'm saying yes, he will. And the reason I say that is because his favorability ratings are the highest of any politician in South Africa, and they are far higher than the favorability of the ANC itself. So what Cyril is doing, he's pulling up the ANC in the polls. He's keeping them artificially elevated. If they get rid of him, they will drop even faster. And so if they are smart, they're going to say, well, can't really afford that. We're already in trouble, so you have to keep Cyril. But they may not be smart enough to do that. in the sense that other priorities will intrude. So you might say the corrupt looters are so worried about Cyril getting his act together and going after them through Zondo and the NPA, etc., that they will pay any price to get rid of him. And they'll build a coalition knowing that it's going to hurt them in the polls, but they still want to get rid of him. That could happen. But I'm inclined to say no, he's going to survive because he is popular, and they know that they need him in order to survive politically.
Again, another thing that really takes me by surprise is this. Somehow people separate Cyril from the ANC. Like that's a weird one for me.
So Gabriel has a nice way of explaining that. So he says this is like in Russia, that the Tsar is actually the guy who protects you from the government. And that's why you love the Tsar.
Okay.
And it may be the same here. People are worried about the ANC and how it's hurting them. But Cyril is the guy who's going to protect them from the ANC, protect them from the government, make things come right. And that's what he gets rewarded for with high favorability.
Yeah, that's beyond me. All right, so Jesse, last question. Does John know the organization called PAGAD, PAGAD, on the Cape Flats? They're back. They're starting to go after the gangsters again since yesterday. Is that a good thing?
So PAGAD, I think, rose to prominence in the 1990s. The acronym stands, I think, for People Against Gangsterism and Drugs. But it is a vigilante organization. So in other words, it is self-justice, which you sort of understand because the police isn't working properly, so people take the law into their own hands, but it's not a good thing. You've got this very complicated system of laws and the separation of powers, and judges and juries and prosecutors for a reason, which is that this prevents you from getting the wrong person or applying the wrong punishment. And these vigilante groups don't do that because they're judge, jury, and executioner in one. So they can easily, get the wrong person, kill, torture, maim them with no repercussions. So as much as I understand the frustration of the state not working, the police not working properly, I think this is quite dangerous, actually. And I think PAGAD then also got involved in other forms of crime in the 1990s and then stopped working. I don't know if they got closed down.
Yeah, no, I think you have some points there. I don't know. It's difficult because the police don't do their job well. This is what it kind of breeds, but at the same time, it's not exactly favorable. It's a tough one. I know vigilantism is not favorable. I mean, there was that guy going around. What's his name? They called him John Wick last year. I don't know if you remember that story.
No,
I don't. So there was this guy. I think it was in KZN or somewhere where there's a lot of gangsters. And this guy was going in this community, literally just offing these gangsters. And in the community, they called him John Wick. I'll send you an article. But that's what happens.
Okay, let me give you a perspective on this. If you think of the word lynching, what do you think of? You think of the American South, in sort of the early 20th century, and you think of black people being hanged by crowds of white people without any due process, etc. In South Africa today, we've got lots of lynchings because this is what this is. This is, people being dragged off by a group of community representatives, residents, killing people. It's a terrible thing, and I don't think it's good at all. I sort of understand why it's happening.
Yeah,
but I think it's a terrible thing.
No, absolutely. I don't know, but again, when you have a failed state or a failed community or whatever it is you want to call it, people kind of tend to take law into their own hands, unfortunately. And I don't know if the cops ever found who it was. But John, we are coming close to the end of the show. I want to thank you so much for giving up, for spending time with me, giving me an hour of your time, and also for being my first guest of 2022, man. So
celebration.
Thank you so much. The conversation was so enlightening, and I really enjoyed chatting to you. Look, you're welcome back anytime if you want to come on to the show, talk about something, but I'll obviously, if there's anything to talk about, I'll invite you again if you're willing. Is there anything you want to say in closing?
No, just thank you for inviting me. And it's really good to speak about these topics. I love talking politics and the economy, etc., etc. And it's, I think, endlessly entertaining. And I'm very glad to be able to do so with you and also with your guests. And I encourage everyone, if you aren't already, read The Daily Friend, which is the IRR's newspaper. And it has really, good writers, good analysis, and it'll keep you informed about what's going on in South Africa.
Fantastic, John. Yeah, you're free to go. I'm just going to close off the show. It was a pleasure once again, and we'll be in touch.
Super. Thank you very much, Joe, and have a good evening.
You too, buddy. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that was John Endres, the new CEO of IRR. What a great guy, really. What a nice, great guy. We're closing off the show now, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, Tarquin, I only saw this question now. I don't have answers to that. I didn't even know there was riot vehicles and stuff in Pietermaritzburg. That's interesting. I'm going to look up that, and I will bring it up in the show tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to... So before I head off, let me just... Yes, I know the fan I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Sorry, guys. It's really hot in Cape Town. I need this fan. People will step up if the government does nothing. We hope so. Great show, gents. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Jesse, for watching. Thank you, Tony, for watching. Do something awesome today. I agree with that. I need to learn more. Okay. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is the first episode of the Joe Emilio Show. Let me know if you're watching this after the fact what you thought. What did you think of the break? Yeah, like I said, I'm going to be adding more to the show as weeks, months go by. I'm going to think of ideas and make this happen. I'm not sure what happened to the camera. I'm really sorry. It's usually very clear. I'm going to check that out now when we're off air. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me. Remember, tomorrow evening is the same time, same place, 6 p.m. The Joe Emilio Show, episode 2. And we're going to have an hour with me, and we're going to have a panelist discussion about Black excellence. I'm not too sure what it is. My panelists will describe it. We'll talk about it. It's going to be a fiery conversation, no doubt. And the panelists I have coming on are amazing people. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with me this evening. I hope you enjoyed it. It's still 8 o'clock, so you can still watch all your favorite shows on whatever it is you watch, Netflix, DSTV, I don't know. But you can enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Like I said, I will upload John's interview on its own later on in the week. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. And we'll have a really, really awesome time. Deborah, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to also become a member, guys. Please become a member. I need to talk about that a lot more. But if you want to become a member, I'll talk about it like tomorrow again. I'll mention there's some stuff coming. Anyway. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Remember, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I will see you at the next one. Bye.